Hey guys, Eric with Blue Line Fishing. Thanks for joining me today. Your time's important to me. And what we're going to do in today's time is we're going to fish some standing timber. Actually, we're going to fish cypress trees like you see right behind me here. The root wads, cypress knees, go through the best baits, tactics, techniques for fishing in here and see what we can get done. Stick with me. It's going to be good. Alright guys, I just want to give you some info on the three main things I do when I'm fishing standing timber, especially cypress trees or any other kind of standing timber, that I think will really improve your fishing when it comes to that. Number one, I want to try and make contact with something every time I throw that bait. Whether it be a spinner bait, a creature bait, squirrel crankbait, I want to make contact with the trunk of the tree, a root wad, grass that's out there, something every time I throw out. I want to make contact and get that deflection to change the bait's direction and speed and just give it that erratic look when it comes back in. Number two, I want to try and fish in that strike zone as long as I can. And what I mean by that is I'm fishing parallel to these cypress trees, or if it's a tree line, brush line, root wad, whatever, to keep your bait in there as long as you can. And number three, I'm fishing shade lines. The shade that these trees throw, like right now it's going on 11 o'clock in the morning, sun's overhead, I'm still catching fish on these shade lines. So that's something I want to do, is try and stay on those shade lines as much as I can. But I think those three things will really help you out when it comes to your timber fishing.
I can feel them coming, boys. We're gonna lay into a big one here in a minute. 6-7 pounder. Look at that. If I can get it in, call my shot. Oh, look at that, boys and girls. Right up in the cypress trees. Ain't that something right there? Look at that. Wow. Wow. That's pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Look at that. Fishing cypress trees with spinner baits, late summer. It's a great technique. And this big old boy was right there in them. Look at that dude. Woo-wee. And that was caught on, let me get him up here. Got a mess here. One of my Ripjaw custom-made spinner baits. Peanut butter and jelly color right there, with copper blades, hammered copper blades, that hammered finish, dual Colorados. And I'm telling you, an off-colored stained water like we've got today here, you can see. I mean, this is the result. Look at there, look at that belly on her. Oh baby, woo! That's good stuff. That's a good one. We'll take him. We will take him. And he was right on that shade line. Even though it's overcast, there's still that shade line that runs on that, right off those cypress trees. Boom. And that's where he came from. I don't know if it rolled around something. Something had it and ran towards the boat. That's a good one, kids. Oh my God, that's a huge one. Lord have mercy. Please let me get this in. Oh, it's a big one. Woo! Look at that, boys and girls. Oh man, I'm so glad I did not go back in there to try and get that spinnerbait that was hooked up. Oh, that's a toad, man. Boom! What a mess though. Let me get the pliers so we don't hurt this big girl. Oh, that's beautiful. Man, cypress trees, big fish, big fish. Look at that. Oh, man. That is a toad. All right, let's get this big girl back in the water. Watch her. She's going to tail walk for us. Almost. She gone.
All right, guys, I'm going to give you a look at what we were talking about. You can see how these cypress trees form kind of a tree line. So, number one, you know, like we were talking about before, the three things I want to do, really number one is I want to make contact every time I throw up in here. So you can see all these pockets and all these trunks of trees and all these cypress knees that stick up, and there's root wads in here too. So I want to come in here and try and make contact with something every single time I throw the bait. And then number two, I want to fish these. There's, like you can see in front of me, there's a tree line here. Rather than throwing directly into them, and I will do that at some point to get back in there further, but first thing I want to do is fish these tree lines parallel to keep myself in the strike zone as long as I can. And in number three, even though we have an overcast day, is I want to fish, you can see right out in front of here, there is a shade line. I want to fish that shade line. And when I get to the edge of that shade line, I want to let that bait kind of die, flutter down, at least slow down, change direction, something to make it look a little bit erratic. And that's when I've been getting bit too, is whenever I come to the edge of that shade line and do a little something different with the bait. Okay guys, I just wanted to give you a quick look at the baits that I'm using today. You know, my top three favorite baits for fishing standing timber, in this case cypress trees, but any kind of standing timber, root wads, and these cypress knees, things like that, are spinnerbait, a square-bill crankbait, and a chatterbait, particularly a jackhammer chatterbait. And I'll show you all three here real quick. First bait, my favorite, is I make these Ripjaw Lure spinnerbaits. This one's in peanut butter and jelly. And the big thing on this one, double Colorado, but it's got these copper colored blades, and it's just not something that you see a lot of guys throw, but in off-colored stained water, even muddy water, this skirt color, especially with these copper colored blades, man, it just sets them off. So this is a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait, my favorite bait for standing timber. Second bait, square-bill crankbait. This one's a gizzard shad pattern right here, but you know, any square bill that you like. This particular one is an Academy Sports CRS crankbait, and you can see nice square bill. I mean, this one comes through timber great. It rarely gets hung up. In fact, I like to take the back hook off and put an oversized hook. I stepped it up one, went from a 4 to a number 2 on this, and this thing still doesn't get hung up. I mean, it deflects off cover, rocks, timber really, really well. So square bill crankbait, number 2. And last but not least, the chatterbait. And this is a jackhammer chatterbait, and I know if you guys fish chatterbaits, the jackhammers are anywhere from $16 to $18 a piece. They're pricey, but they're so much different than the other chatterbaits. They are worth every penny. They start running true as soon as they hit the water, which is a big deal. They have a big 5/0 hook on them. They also have and some of the others do, but have the inset, the glass eyes there. But these are connected completely different than if you look at the other chatterbaits with the snap and the way they're connected to the line type. Is also in my top 3 for fishing standing timber, cypress trees, root wads, stuff like that. The only knock on it is that big 5/0 hook you've got right there. It is going to occasionally get hung up, so you're gonna have to deal with that. But it's such a good bait, it's worth dealing with all the hang-ups.
All right guys, what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to target this now that the sun's a little farther overhead. It's just after 10 in the morning. Is I'm trying to target this shade line that's off of these cypress trees, because it's the end of August, getting towards the end of August here, and the water's hot, the sun's hot, the air temperature today is not bad at all. It's right around 79, 80 degrees, kind of unusually cool here for this time of year, and the humidity's down. But what I'm trying to do is target this shade line, because those bass normally don't like to, you know, just like you don't like to get sun cooked, they don't like to get sun cooked either if they can help it. And they'll use this shade line, 1, to keep cool, and 2, as a perfect ambush point. There's a nice one. Ooh, that's right at you. Look at that, he flashed on that bait. Didn't even get even in the mouth. It actually hung him up under the gill. Huh. Shows you how quick he turned on that bait. But we'll take him. That was right up in those cypress trees and in the shade line. I just couldn't catch up to him quick enough, and that's kind of impressive on his part because it's the 8-2-1 reel, so it's pretty high speed. There he is, though. That's a good fish. I'll bring him right over here. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. That's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. Look, he flashed on it. It actually hooked on the outside of his mouth. Once again, what we're doing here is targeting these, or what we're targeting is the shade line on the cypress trees. Now, earlier we were targeting really making contact with everything we could. We're still trying to do that, but what we're really doing now is targeting the shade line that's coming out since we got the sun overhead and it's going on 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. So we are targeting the shade line out here, and it's working. Thank goodness. There we go. That's a good one. Running right, bumping into those. If you can see them right over there, cypress knees. That's what we were doing, is hitting those cypress knees. It did shred his gills up a little bit there, but hopefully we can get him out of here and he'll be all right. We'll see what happens. There we go. Good one. There's a nice one right there. Good fish. We'll definitely take them. Right in the roof of the mouth. It's good stuff. He was a little farther out here, but that's where, like I say, a lot of these root wads, these cypress knees, continue on out this far, so that's not unusual. And it's obviously, you can see how shallow it is in here. By, if you can see back in there, all the cypress knees sticking up, but it's not a lot more here. And here's another one right here. We've got some feeding on this flat. So we got him feeding on this flat. Look at this. If I'd have gave him any leeway at all, it just fell. I mean, that was just hardly in there. Razor sharp hook, but it went right through the nostril there. That's a good 3-pounder right there. Good fish. Say goodbye to that dude. Nice one. It's a good one though. Something kind of cool with him. Look at that. Just a color variation, that stripe on his tail like that. But he is a good, I guarantee he'll be a 16-incher. 16 and a half. Good 2 1/4, maybe 2.5 pounds. Hey guys, I was going to show you, it sucks I ran out of memory on my SD card. I forgot to bring a spare one today, but another one over 4 pounds. This one's right at 4.5. Big girl. Big girl. We're going to let her go. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got a little something out of it that'll help you fish that standing timber, cypress trees, hardwoods, whatever it is that you're fishing. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. And remember, until the next video, get out there and fish.